So welcome to Past, Present, Future, the Full Circle podcast. On this podcast, we will be speaking to artists, managers, label owners, stylists, really anyone involved within the UK music and rap industry. The aim is to give you a full circle overview on their life, their past, their present, and obviously their future. Episode 9, Past, Present, Future. We are back. So this one was supposed to be recorded a few days ago, but we made it happen. So we're here today. We're here with Kfromkway. So incredibly excited, hugely talented, prosperous artist that is 100% destined to the top. So obviously we're keen to give upcoming artists such as yourself the opportunity to speak and to hopefully gain some audience as well. So I mean, it'd be great if you could initially introduce yourself, and then we can go through the past, present, future journey.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Kfromkway, artist, 20 years old, singer, songwriter, rapper from Oxfordshire. Yeah, that's really the introduction. Just dropped an EP a few weeks ago with Love from Quay, 2 songs. So yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll go into that EP a little bit later on and get your thoughts on it and get some exposure on it. But initially what I wanted to understand, and obviously we love to start from the childhood. So you grew up in Oxford, right?
Yeah, Oxford, just outside of Oxford. So a place called Bicester on the edge of Oxford, yeah.
So it's rocking fresh garms every day.
No, I've worked in Bicester Village.
Oh, really?
Bicester Village, I don't know. It's got some good stuff, but
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really...
Not the one. But yeah, how was growing up in Bicester, Oxford?
So, early life-wise, I grew up... The first place I lived was a place called Way in Bicester. I lived with my mum and dad and my older sister. It was a 2-bed house. Me and my sister shared a room. Then we left there when I was about 7, moved into a 3-bed house, so I had my own room and stuff. And then from about 11, 12, my parents' relationship kind of wasn't the best. It started to fall apart a bit. So then they got separated when I was 12. So then they got divorced when I was about 13. And then... yeah, that was my early years, but...
How was that being so young, so being 12 years old and watching your parents' relationship fall apart in front of you? How was that experience?
It was kind of a weird one because, for example, when you're a kid, you don't clock things. So when arguments or stuff are happening, you're not really clocking the depth of it. But as you get older and you see how it affects your mum, or you know what I'm saying, it makes you think I don't know, it just puts you in a weird kind of mind state because on one side, you kind of have to, not felt like I had to choose, but you feel like you kind of do have to choose because you have to choose who you want to live with, you have to choose different things like that, and it's I don't know if I was kind of ready for that at that age, you know?
I was going to say, how hard is it? Because effectively you're almost put in a position where you have to pick a side. How hard is it to pick a side?
It was proper hard because so when I was about 12, my mum moved out for the first time and we moved to a little village, and then after a few months, I don't really know the logistics. I don't want to say all my mum's business, but I don't know if it was a money thing or she just wanted to come back. But we moved back in with my dad, and then when I was that was 12, and then 13 they got fully officially divorced, because when they came back, that's when I just realized, that relationship is not, they're just not made for each other at all. So then at 14, my mum moved out into a place called Bure Park in Bicester, and we were there for a year. But I was my sister didn't live with my dad. Her and my dad don't get on like that, but I was still living back and forth in between the both of them. So when I was 14, I was still going to my mum's regularly and stuff like that. But around 14, 15, again, like my mum got kicked out that house. So from there, it was just a weird one because I felt a bit guilty because I was at my dad's, but then my mum was in a situation where she didn't have like her own place to live.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I felt, and especially because my sister didn't speak to my dad, I felt kind of like guilty about that. And then
just right back bang in the middle of that situation.
Like bang in the middle, and I'm the younger sibling as well, so I didn't really know what to do really. And then my mum started living at my grandma's house, and she's still there at the moment. That was
tough.
Yeah.
Upon reflection, as I'm sure it's still raw, and like you say, she still live with your grandma now, so it's still very much a present situation. But upon reflection, is again, and sadly, I have to say this a lot, whether I'm talking about the passing of a friend or a family member with someone, or if I'm talking about a situation like this, unfortunately, they're not unique circumstances. Like people break up, people get divorced. So, I mean, what kind of advice do you have for people that potentially this is a more raw subject? Their parents have just got divorced and you have some experience dealing with it.
I'd say just definitely like, don't deep it too much, really. Like you're saying, it's not a unique thing. When you're a kid, it feels like, oh, rah. Especially where I was living, there was a lot of people who were from like, just like 2-parent families, not really divorced like that. I felt odd, but then you realize it's not an odd thing. And also you have to realize like whatever is best for your parents, because they're people too. Because when I was younger, I used to think, oh, why can't they just stay together? It'd be so much easier. But really, if that's selfish, really, because they have to be happy as people too. You know what I mean? So that's what I tell anyone. Just like, don't blame your parents too much, and don't deep it too much. Like it's not too bad. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like you have to like put yourself in the perspective of your parents and say that they're not just going to put themselves through hell just to appease your happiness. They need to be happy within themselves. So I think that's really good advice. Well, I appreciate you going into that and to expressing it in the first place, because obviously it's not an easy or nice subject to speak about. So thank you. One thing that was interesting actually within that kind of segment, when you were explaining where you grew up, and there was a lot of like families where it was 2 parents that were together, which made you think that actually you were in a unique situation. I wondered, and potentially this is just me being naive, but to me, when I think about and I picture like Oxford as a place, I picture a place which is predominantly white, which is full of wealthy people that drive Range Rovers. So I wondered from like a diversity perspective, if you were ever in uncomfortable situations, but because of your heritage in that area.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, I always knew I was a Black Caribbean second generation in a place where not a lot of people look like me. They go home, they don't eat the same foods as me. Their grandparents don't talk the same as me. Like all those different things. I was very like aware of those things. And
how did that affect you, like when you were younger?
I guess I wouldn't say like it's harder to figure out like things, especially like who you are, because you're not around people that are like you. Not that to say race divides people too much, but like it is a big difference, like the cultural difference. So you definitely do know that you're different. Do you know what I'm saying? You know that you're not like most people from that area.
And with that in mind, so to talk about school for sake of example, how was school life, and how much of a barrier was what we just discussed? How much did that come up within your school life?
I've definitely had like experiences where kids have said some like wild shit, like go back to your country, or some, like
mindless
dumb shit
comment.
Like people turn off the lights and be like, where's Kasim gone? Because that's my name, or like dumb shit like that. But I never really let it bother me, because I always had a strong sense of identity and like culture that was instilled in me from young. Like my grandparents would tell them about them coming over from the Caribbean, and I was never ashamed of being Black. So if someone said that to me, I'd just throw a comment back at them, like some funny stuff back at them, because I never really I never took it as an insult being black or being where I'm from. I never saw that as a bad thing. So
absolutely not.
And I do have to give credit to my parents for that, because they always taught me from young, no matter what anyone says, like, be proud of who you are, be proud of where you're from. And like, yeah, so I've always kind of been, but yeah, you get them comments. There's been like, I definitely felt like, you know, people would see me differently sometimes. But yeah, I did have, there's other like black people in the area and stuff like that. It's just a lower percentage compared to somewhere like London.
Sure.
Or like, do you know what I mean? But yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I wanted to ask about that because I didn't know if it was just me being stereotypical when I think about Oxford and I have this picture in my head, but it does seem like there is some truth behind it.
Yeah, Oxford as a city, to be fair, Bristol where I'm from is a lot more multicultural. Oxford as a city is not that multicultural, but in places like Blackbird Leys, that's where, so on my dad's side, he's from Oxford.
Yeah.
So Iffley Road, that was where like my nan on my dad's side lived and stuff like that. Like Iffley Road, Blackbird Leys, Barton, Heatherton, all those areas have like a lot of black people, a lot of like Asians, a lot of different communities. Like there's a road called Cowley Road in Oxford. You can walk that, it looks like London. You can get like Pakistani food, Albanian food, Caribbean food. There's like all these places in Oxford, but still a lot of majority of Oxford is like how you described it to be fair. But, yeah.
No, it's an interesting topic to go into. So I'm glad that we could discuss it. So obviously music is a huge part of the present moment for you, and that's why we're in this room, and that's what we'll discuss kind of within the latter stages of the episode. But I know, so I did some research and stuff, and I think it was your dad that was and maybe still is a guitar teacher, and I see that's kind of like molded your sound today. But when did you first get into making music? And I mean, who was the biggest influence? I'm guessing that's a pretty obvious question, but
like, Dad was definitely a big influence because he started showing me like chords and stuff on the guitar when I was about 4 years old. So that's like super young that I was introduced to music. And then my mum also, funnily enough, it's like they kind of set me up to be an artist, because my mum used to sing in cover bands and stuff like that when she was younger. And she used to do like singing competitions and stuff like that when she was younger. So I'd hear my mum singing, and she writes poetry as well. She's been published in a poetry book. I have to find it and post it. But that's where I kind of get my sense of words from, because I'd see her doing it and I'd read her poems and stuff. And it was just something she did for fun. It wasn't anything she was trying to like pursue as a career. But yeah, my dad was first introduction to like music in general, but rap music, my first introduction was my dad had the Jay-Z Blueprint album.
Blueprint.
Yeah, and he obviously wouldn't let me play it. I was around 11 these times, but I remember I used to sneak into his room when he was out and I used to play that, and I was just like, it just completely blew my head. Like, what is this music? I became obsessed with it. And then from there I found like just the average people, not average, but you know, the ones everyone knows. Like I found out about Biggie, Eminem, then Kanye. Kanye was a huge influence for me, especially like 13. I was just listening to Kanye all the time. Literally, like I went through his whole discography. I felt like that's the best rap artist ever to come out. So,
really?
Yeah. I feel like maybe not straight like for lyrics and stuff, but I think definitely on just a all-round musical level. If you look at
artistry and
it's just crazy. So I was, and then Kendrick as well was another one who was a big influence to me. But yeah,
what's your favourite Kendrick album?
To Pimp a Butterfly, probably. What's yours?
I mean, there's only two options, isn't there? And it's
Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah, I for me, and it's interesting. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20, so I'm 24. So I was saying to Sammy, who's off camera the other day, I was saying that I feel like people that are around your age all say To Pimp a Butterfly, and people that are my age say Good Kid, Mad City. To me, if you listen to them both back to back, like I understand, like maybe from an experimental perspective, like To Pimp a Butterfly is potentially above Good Kid, Mad City, but from like a concept perspective, from start to finish, no skips.
True.
Good Kid, Mad City. If I listened to Pimp a Butterfly, I would skip probably more than one track.
I
if
do
I
hear
listened
that.
to Good Kid, Mad City, nothing. And I think the skits within Good Kid, Mad City are
elite.
the best skits of all time.
Yeah, elite. But I will give you that Good Kid, Mad City, Sing About Me is the first rap song I think I listened to for that long. I think it's like 7 minutes. And I could listen to that song right now for the whole 7 minutes. You know how now songs are getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
But the storytelling on that was crazy. And Good Kid, Mad City that's still one of my favorite up there albums. Section 80 as well. But
yeah, Section 80 is cold.
Yeah, Section 80 is cold. But Rigor Mortis on that album was cool. But I don't know, to Pimp a Butterfly, I felt like that's when he entered a whole new level of artistry with the production as well, and the because I'm a big person with sound.
Yeah.
So a lot of the sounds on that album I think are just crazy. Like I know Thundercat was a big part of the production on that album. So yeah, I probably like that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, yeah, not 100% in alignment with the structure, but nah, it's good to chat it through and just to see your thoughts on that. But
to more. Do you want to do more on past?
Yeah, no, it'd be good to just to summarise the past topic. What I'd love to do is to kind of understand, I guess, like, upon reflection, how happy would you say your upbringing was?
See, these questions are a bit techie because I never want anyone in my family to feel bad. Like, my family gave me a whole lot of love, and they would never put me in jeopardizing or anything situations on purpose. But definitely growing up, seeing, obviously I haven't talked about it too much, but the relationship between my mum and dad was very toxic.
How exposed to it were you?
A lot of the time I'd see them arguing, shouting, like real bad arguments though, like real bad arguments that yeah, you probably wouldn't want to see that as a kid. And yeah, that's why my sister doesn't speak to my dad. Like, not a lot of people even know that. For example, in school, they tried to get me social workers, but I was never really good at
like articulating your problems.
Articulating how I felt. And on top of that, I didn't want to feel like I was just out there trying to talk bad about my family. So anytime the social worker would say anything to me, I'd just be like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. Like, looking back though, like you're saying, upon reflection, I probably wasn't that good. I probably was just like avoiding a lot of the things that I was feeling at the time.
It's interesting you say about avoiding the feelings at the time. So when we were speaking to Songer earlier today, which will have been last week's episode when this comes out, we were speaking a lot about like escape and methods of escape. So for him, whether it's like going to the pub and forgetting about his problems, or for you, whether it's like pretending they're not problems. And within that like present moment, it feels great because you're not thinking about it, you're thinking about something else, and the problems are at the back of your mind. But actually that can have like a really negative long-term effect, because one day actually you can't put it off anymore, and then all these feelings that you've been putting off come to the forefront of your mind, and then you're fucked. So I mean, yeah, you were saying, oh, it's not a problem, you're with the social worker. Again, upon reflection, like, that method of escape, how do you feel it impacted you?
I think it just made me a bit reckless as a kid. Like, I first smoked weed when I was like 14.
14. Yeah. What year is that at school?
Like year 9. It's not that young. Not to say it's not that young. Don't be 14 and smoke weed, but like, there are people I know who are doing it like 12 and crazy stuff like that. But like, I first smoked weed at 14, and then from about, like, for example, I only just stopped smoking weed in this November last year. And before that, for like 3 years, I was smoking hard, like every single day, smoking multiple zoots a day. And it's only now at 20 years old, I look back and I realize, right, I was probably just doing that to run from my problems, even like experimenting with other stuff. But I was always an outside kid from about like 15. I just didn't want to be in the house. Obviously, I love my dad and stuff. He's taught me a lot, but like, because of the relationship with my mum, I had a lot of anger, towards my dad. So I never really wanted to be in the house a lot. So then I was just out, and you're just kind of doing whatever you want.
How did you release that anger?
To be fair, you get in a few scraps in school, but like when I came out of school, it was more just like, it's a lot of ego thing, especially for young men. Like I was saying, you don't want to talk about your feelings, so it's an ego thing. Like, right, no one's gonna do anything. No one's causing me any problems, because if this is this thing I can't control in my house, but when I'm outside, I can control things, and no one's gonna cause problems with me, or like, what do you know what I'm saying? But that's a wrong mentality to have, because it's just, it just brings problems, man. And then like, I was doing a lot of dumb stuff, like just shotting, and a lot of dumb stuff I shouldn't have been doing at the time. But like, it was just, I don't know. I was just always outside, and I didn't really care about a lot of things. Looking back, I didn't care about a lot of stuff. Like, I remember I came out of school, finished GCSEs. I didn't really get bad grades, to be fair, but then I went to college, and during college I was just fucking about again, like shotting, doing dumb stuff, got kicked out of college, came home, told my dad, vexed, like shouting, like, what are you doing? So then I went to another college, Milton Keynes College, went there. That's a bit further away from like Oxford. Got kicked out of there.
What for?
Just not attending, literally not showing up. But
and what were you doing at college?
I was doing music production, actually.
See, that's really interesting. See, more often than not, when I speak to people, whether it's on like a podcast like this, an interview, or whatever it might be, and we go through the topic of college, uni, school, whatever, and again, unfortunately, being kicked out or not attending is not a unique thing. But one thing that's unique about your story is when I speak to other people and they get kicked out or they leave, it's because they were fundamentally doing something that they didn't care about. So they might have been pushed into doing sports science, or they might have been pushed into doing, like, I don't know, something that they're really not something they're really not interested in. But in your case, you were doing a course that you were interested in, and you still didn't attend. So what was the problem?
Yeah, literally, one of the problems was I was just doing dumb stuff. Like I said, I was out with my friends a lot, not caring about my life. But also with music, I always felt like I did music GCSE too. I did decent in that. I got a B. But I always felt like to do music or get anywhere I wanted in music, I had to just go out and do it. And after I got kicked out of Milton Keynes is when I really started pursuing music, because I first started, the first time I went to a studio I was 12, but the first time I proper started recording and releasing music was around that 16, 17 age time. And then after I got kicked out of Milton Keynes, I was like, look, I'm just going to do music and work and do whatever I need to do to get money to go studio, to release music, to do that. And I think it kind of was a positive thing, because I don't think I would have met a lot of people I met in the industry, or maybe we wouldn't be sitting here now if I was still on that course, like literally.
Yeah, that's facts, 100%, 100%. That's a really interesting point, actually. I mean, I'm interested, so I'd love to transition into the present, but one last thing. You mentioned that, like, when you got kicked out of your first college, you came home, your dad was vexed, he was fuming, this, that and the other. So let's talk about like the second college you go to, Milton Keynes, you come back, you get kicked out of there, and then you drop the bomb to your dad that I want to pursue music full time. What's his reaction?
I didn't tell him I wanted to pursue music full time. I just said, I'm going to go work full time, because you can't come back and be like, Dad, I'm going to be an artist, I'm going to be that's so cliche, and like, that would have not gone down well at all. But it was the same thing. He was vexed. He was just saying, like, what are you gonna do with your life, basically? What are you doing? You're fucking your life up and stuff like that. But
how much fuel does that give you, comments like that, like you're fucking your life up, to go out and just be the person that you're destined to be?
It gives you a lot of fuel, definitely, because like, also with my dad being a guitar teacher and stuff, I always felt like he's a very good guitarist, and I feel like he could have done more, but I feel like he maybe played it a bit more safe. So I was always like, no, I'm going to take these risks, because I may as well take the risk now when I'm young, because you can always go to uni, or you can always go find a job somewhere, but there's not always the chance to do music. Like, and when you're young, so I feel like the best time to get into it. So that gave me a lot of fuel to just go out and be like, no, I'm gonna prove you wrong, like you know what I'm saying, and show I can make something out of myself. Fully not there yet, but I feel like we're on
the ascendance for sure. Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, that was a fascinating past section from my perspective, and appreciate the honesty and potentially going into topics which maybe you didn't want to or were hard to talk about. So thank you.
Like a lot of people probably won't know those things about me, because even in school, when my mum got like evicted and stuff, I didn't tell anyone because it was an embarrassing thing for me. So even things like that is like, there's probably people from my school will be watching that and like, what? Because I did not tell. I was embarrassed to that when I shouldn't have been, like, at all. And no one should feel embarrassed about something like this. It's not something you can help. But like I was saying, because there was a lot of kids who were from these 2-parent households and everything was good for them, I felt like, oh, it's just, it makes me even more different than I already am. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to have that experience. Cause but yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, I mean, I'll take that as a positive or a compliment that potentially you haven't disclosed these things to other people or to other platforms. So, no, thank you again. Appreciate it. So, quick one. We work with a lot of up-and-coming urban artists across the UK who are seeking press assistance, radio airtime, creative marketing solutions, and really all-round artist development within an industry that is constantly evolving. Which is why when we had the opportunity to partner with the 1994 Collective on this podcast, it made perfect sense. So to any aspiring artists that are seeking commercial success, please do get in contact with the 1994 Collective and let them know we sent you. You touched upon it earlier, so the EP's just dropped. So to move into the present, how pleased are you with the reception of the EP, and how would you describe it for people that haven't heard it as well?
So yeah, with Kfromkway, 2-song EP, and it's kind of like it's a dual side. It was meant to be kind of like a gift around Christmas time with Kfromkway, and then the first song is Energy, and throughout that song I'm talking about, you know, you've kind of made me. I'm thinking about a lot of stuff now, because the lyrics of the song is your sweet love is way too addictive and I want it, but I don't really want to risk it, so I'm cautious. But now I'm thinking maybe I think like that because of my parents' relationship, because I was listening to the song every day and I was thinking that's such a kind of pessimistic way to think, because I'm saying this is something that I want, but I don't want to risk it. I'm cautious, and I'm just deep in like, why would I be cautious about that? But yeah, that song's kind of about wanting something and not wanting it at the same time, like that kind of the oxymoron of that. And then all we do is meant to feel kind of like a loop. That's how I wanted it to sound. It's meant to be like, yo, this feels like all we do, whether it's going to work, whether it's like your parents are arguing, whether it's you're going through some mad shit on road or whatever. It just feels like a cycle of just the same thing happening over and over again. And then in the verse, I'm kind of talking about, it's kind of a glimpse into the brighter side of things. You know what I mean? So the more positive side of things, but then it goes back into it. It feels like this is all we do. You know what I'm saying? So
it's so interesting that you say about like the first track, and like after having this conversation, how it makes you question your own lyrics, which is crazy, and puts like a different meaning into perspective after having this conversation. And I mean, for me, from the outside looking in, it sounds like 100% like the reservations that you have about getting into that sorts of situations does stem from your past and from the experience and exposure that you've had to the negative sides of those sorts of intimate relationships.
I definitely, now I'm thinking, yeah, it probably is, because I guess your first experience of love is with your parents. So maybe that's why.
So have you struggled then to get into relationships?
Into serious things, yeah. Just because I feel like anytime I'm with someone and I start to really like them, I do things purposely to fuck it up. I don't even know why. It's just like I'll purposely do things that fuck it up, and I'm like,
you say you don't even know why, but maybe now you do.
Yeah, trust. Maybe, yeah. Oh, this is a bit deep, bro. Like, but yeah. yeah, that probably is the reason, that probably is actually the reason. So yeah,
for sure. Okay, so to put a more positive spin on it, so you spoke earlier about like how your dad's feelings towards it gave you like the fuel that you need to get to the top, and you feel like you're on the way there. So I mean, what does the journey look like at the moment? What are your plans like in the present moment to get yourself to where you want to go?
Yeah, so I'm looking to drop a tape in the next 1 to 2 months. And funny enough, we're talking about fuel. The name of it is Nightmare Fuel.
Okay.
And the whole concept is turning your nightmares or your past experiences or trauma or just bad things that happened into that fuel, using that as fuel, nightmare fuel. So you're using the nightmare fuel to power the car that drives to your dreams, to the do you know what I mean?
I love that concept, by the way.
You like it?
Love it.
I'll show you the cover art after
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
But that's kind of the whole concept of it, using anything bad that's happened in your life as fuel to pursue those dreams. I'm looking to do that in the 1 to next 2 months, much more singles, much more higher output. Because last year I dropped 4 songs and we did decent, like we've got some good traction and stuff, but now I just want to up the output, just keep hitting them. And
what's I'm really intrigued by the concept. So the nightmare fuel, and this is quite often what I discuss with people actually. So I love to talk about the deep topics, but not just to get them out there for no reason, but to actually talk about how did you overcome them, how do you move forward, and how do you use them as, like you branded, the nightmare fuel. So from your perspective, what's like the perfect method to get the nightmare fuel and to fill up the car to take you to your dream destination?
I'd say is don't do anything that I did. Don't spend 4 years smoking weed, doing rat-a-tat. You need to face whatever it is. You need to like face it. Like even now, you've kind of put me in a position where I've had to face things. But after that, it's put a new perspective on things for me. I think when you face things and you face your problems, or you just have to look it directly into the face. And you have to kind of fight it, because if you say, like we were saying, if you're running from it and avoiding it, which like your problems or whatever they are, they're just going to keep following you. They're never going to leave until you turn around and you face them. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's definitely one. You need to, whatever it is that's going on in your life, you have to face it directly, like head on. And just determination as well.
That's facts. 100%. 100%. It's really good advice. It's 100% good advice. And I'm interested to understand as well, because this, I guess, is very much in the present moment for you. You spoke about work, and being an upcoming artist is not easy, whether it's from a financial perspective, whether it's workload, anything like this. So I'm interested to understand like kind of what your split is between work and creativity, and how you manage that split.
Yeah, it's this past year, it's been a difficult one to manage, I'm not gonna lie, because at the start of the year at the start of last year, I started working with management, which is Good Eye Entertainment. Gavin, shout out Gavin, he'll be watching this. But he also manages Chris Rich. I don't know if you know. That could be a nomination actually to come on here. Chris Rich and like ATM, a few other people. But like, it's a difficult one because you want to fully do music, but you need funding for music. You need all these other things. So you have to, the balance has been techie. I can't say I've figured that one out yet, like the balance of it, because there's some days, sometimes you have an idea and you want to go straight to studio and do it, boom, there, but you might have work the next day, you might have work this day, and it's like, so you can't go there right now and record that idea. But yeah, it's definitely it's a difficult one, because
how much do you think that problem, so that you just mentioned, how much do you think that plays into artists being so infatuated with signing deals that potentially are not good for them, because it's just they see an easy, quick way out, that they don't have to do this job anymore, they can get this deal, they can go studio all the time, and it's that quick win, but then it's like, oh, actually 5 years down the line, you've shot yourself in the foot.
I've got a lot to say about this, because that is exactly why I feel artists like sign deals for money, because as artists, we're usually not the best businessmen. We're very good at the creative side of things, making things, but not all the time. There is a lot of great rappers and great people who have done great business, but on average, we're not the best business people. So that puts us in situations where we might just sign this deal, or you might to get this advance or get this because you need it. But in the long term, a lot of us don't think in the long term. We just think in the now.
Yeah.
And I think that is a major reason why artists maybe sign contracts which aren't the best for them, but they sign it for that reason. But
what's your focus at the moment then? So let's say, so you've got the two options, independent, and you've got the label side of things. What's your focus on and why?
I'm not against labels either. Like signing to a label, I was in a distribution deal in 2021, but that's different because it's distribution. It's not like you get an advance, and it's more money for marketing, videos, stuff like that. And that was 4 songs. So, well, it was free, but I gave it's an extra song for the recent EP. But
how successful was that in your opinion?
What, the recent EP?
No, so the distribution deal.
Oh, I think it definitely did put me in a way better position than I was at the start of the year. So I can't really complain too much because I got a bigger audience. I got more streams. I got more just traction from people in the industry out of that situation. But so I forgot the question. What was it you saying again?
I was just saying, so in your mind, so you've got obviously the label route, the independent route. What are you most focused on?
I definitely think being independent in this era is like the best thing you could probably do. But also if you can find a label that you think supports your vision and believes in you and wants to invest in you and it's a good deal, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get with a label. But I have to give a shout out to this Discord server, Alt. They've been having Twitter spaces the past like few days called Alt, and one of them they were talking about building a brand as an artist, and I feel like that is the way really to be independent in the industry if you have a brand. Because like for example, I've been designing some caps and stuff at the moment.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, because I want to start dropping stuff like that, finding ways to maybe make money off being an artist without just the music side of things. And they had a few good people speaking. They had the guy who started Places and Faces.
Sick.
Clint from Cortez.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came in and spoke for a bit. But they were just talking about, building a brand as an artist and how that can benefit you in the long term, especially if you're trying to do the independent thing. So I think that's definitely where I want to go. But I also do want to break. I hate the word mainstream because mainstream makes people think, oh, it's some pop thing but when I say mainstream, I mean I want my music to be heard everywhere, literally. So I think when you're looking to do that, labels still are like very powerful. They have the power to do that, to put you everywhere. And so it's a difficult one. But then you see people like Sench, who's come out and he's everywhere, but he's independent. So it's like, in 2022, I don't think there's
a right or wrong way. It's whatever
market.
gives you the best exposure and the best position. Yeah,
definitely.
for sure. It's interesting actually. You mentioned then about like the Twitter like forums and whatever you've been speaking in and listening to. And the other day I was on Twitter and I saw you were involved in I think it was like mental health in music or something like that. So
Mirror Maze space.
Yeah, so I wonder what that was about and how you would sum up your mental health in music.
So the space was Mira May started it, and she was talking about basically how does music and mental health affect each other? How are artists' mental health? How does that affect their music? And then when I came in to speak, she was more talking about should artists feel obligated to talk about their mental health in their music and talk about problems they're going through in their music. And I kind of had a different opinion to her because I said, I don't think artists should be obligated. I think if you want to talk about something in your music and people relate to it, great. But I don't think artists should ever feel that pressure, because that's a lot of pressure, you know what I'm saying, to feel like you're having to speak for a large group of people. And I think artists should just feel like, if I'm feeling like this today, I'm gonna write about this and I'll put it out, and that's it.
How much have you struggled with mental health, and how much does it affect your music in turn?
I can't say I've struggled. I've definitely had parts of my life where I'm sad, or parts of my life where I'm feeling like this or feeling like this. But I can't say I've had a mental health struggle yet. Touch wood, don't want to jinx myself. Yeah, but I can't say I've had a struggle like that yet. But I definitely think it matters, like the mental health of artists, especially when artists get big. I think that's when you start to see the mental health unravel, because once you're big and you're making a lot of money, everything's accessible to you. Drugs. Say if you're an artist before and you didn't have a lot of money, but now you're huge, anything you want, you can get it all the time. So if you want drugs every day, all day, you have the money and the access to do that. If you're on tour all the time, there was a guy in there speaking called Trax, and he was speaking about how when artists tour, a front man has more mental strain on them than like an elite athlete or something like that. Because think when you're touring as an artist, you're on stage every day, completely burning out, what was it he said, your dopamine receptors. So every day you're getting these constant hits of dopamine on stage. So when you come off stage, it's completely gone. And that's why you see artists, when they're not, like when they've been big for a long time, they can start to break, because he was saying he was on touring for a lot of time. And he said after he finished, he just felt like completely finished, because he's just been getting these hits of dopamine on stage every night. So then when he comes off stage and the tour's finished and he's feeling like, why am I feeling down? And it's because he's just used up all his dopamine. So now that's where the like things like depression and that can come in. And like,
that's crazy. That's a really good insight though, and I'm sure the majority of people, including myself, wouldn't have known that before. So it's good to raise awareness and to get that out there and to spread the word. So yeah, great knowledge, and thanks for sharing. So I wanted to transition into the future, and it's interesting to kind of link it in with something you mentioned earlier when we were talking about like the label, the independent side of things, and you said, look, I just want my music to be heard. I want that mainstream, not necessarily that goes alongside the mainstream stereotype, but you want your music to be heard. So moving into the future, not a want but a need, what do you need to accomplish to feel successful?
That's it's a difficult question, because I don't really know what I need to feel successful, because I feel like once you reach a level, you're just gonna want more and more and more.
That's true.
But I think just if I was able to make a living off music, touring, and be a well-respected name in the UK, like I want my name to be there next to Dave, next to Stormzy, next to all these people who we hold up, because I believe that's where I'm going. I believe that's where like I'm meant to go. So I feel like once I'm at that level, I'd feel content maybe, but then who knows, you could get to that level and then you're like, no, I'm not content with this, you want something else. But I think definitely just being a household UK name is, I feel like would give me a feeling of success. Maybe that's the wrong thing though, like to want, because that depends on other people. But
yeah, it's the whole argument of like, I often have this conversation with people like success or happiness, like what do you value more? So for sake of example, who knows, let's say hypothetically speaking, you pursue like, I want to be as big as Stormzy, I want to be as big as Dave. You get there and you're underwhelmed and you have all this money, like you don't know what to do with it and you're fundamentally unhappy. And then you've got someone else, someone who's probably a great example at this very moment in time, like he's definitely doing well for himself. He definitely has the listeners. He potentially is financially independent as well, but doesn't have that pressure. And potentially someone sitting in that camp is actually happier than the person in this camp.
That is true.
So really it's like, what do you value more, success or happiness?
I definitely value happiness, and I don't want to give the wrong message to anyone, because I'm just speaking completely for me. I value happiness a lot, but also happiness doesn't keep the lights on. Do you know what I'm saying? Happiness doesn't pay your bills. Happiness doesn't do things like that. So I think...
Does happiness keep the lights on within you though?
That is true. That is true. Like, I'm not saying I don't want to be happy. I don't want to prioritize success over happiness. I'd say happiness, but I do want to be successful. Do you know what I mean? Like, so can you be both? Can you be
Yeah,
successful and happy?
I'm sure you can. So I think actually, funnily enough, you retweeted something the other day, which I'm sure it's said something along the lines of, and I actually read it in a book recently, like if you pursue happiness, the money will follow. If you pursue money, then the happiness may not follow. So actually, more often than not, happy people will in turn be successful and will be financially free. People that strive solely for that financial gain, that financial freedom, the happiness may not fall in alignment. So, I mean, from my perspective, and everyone's different, and I think it stems from background, loads of different things, but from my perspective, happiness should be the main fundamental goal. And then if you pursue that and you succeed in that area, then it's the financial freedom that will follow.
I agree with that a lot, because like you're saying, there's a lot of rich people or successful people who aren't happy, but my goal isn't really even money either. It's just that feeling of accomplishment, of feeling like,
and that does bring happiness.
Yeah, I feel like that would bring me happiness, knowing like I've got myself to a certain level and I can look back and be like, I've done this or done this, and like, yeah, because I'm not there, I can't tell if it would make me happy or not, but I feel like it would. But maybe we'll have this conversation in a year, 2 years, and I might be there, and then I'll be like, yo, Lawrie, I'm not even, it's not even what I expected it to be, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, actually. Happiness is definitely the key. 100%. Happiness is the key.
Yeah, I think expectations are key as well. So it's interesting you mentioned, like, if I get there and it's not what I expected. So expectations essentially hold the keys for happiness. So, like, I don't know, if you think about nature for sake of example, no one looks at a cloud and is unhappy, because a cloud's a cloud. It looks like a cloud. You expect it to be a cloud. Therefore, it's a cloud and you're happy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you expect your birthday to be the best night of your life, or New Year's Eve to be the best night of your life, and you go out and it's not the best night of your life, like, you're unhappy because it doesn't fall in alignment with your expectations. So that's kind of the point of view, is to be really clear with your expectations, to be realistic. And then when you hit them, so if you say, right, I want to be as big as Stormzy and Dave, I want a #1 album, you hit those things and they are what you expect, I'm sure you'll be happy.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, even with stuff outside of music, like I'd really like to like weird shit makes me happy. Like I'd like to direct a film. Like I'm really into.
What kind of film?
I actually have an idea for the film. It would be called The Thing About Leroy, and it would be set in like 1940s England, and it would be basically about like a Caribbean in 1940s England who's got superpowers. This sounds dumb. Like now
it sounds sick. Sounds sick.
Yeah, but like now it sounds stupid because I'm not anywhere near there. But I'd really like to create a film like that in like Britain, because I feel like one thing, especially when I was growing up, I wanted to see a lot more representation of like historical movies. Are good, and I like movies that teach people things, but also I like to sometimes just see people in a fantasy setting. Do you know what I mean? Like superheroes and stuff like that. Obviously we got a lot more now, but yeah, I'd like to tell a story like that, and I feel like a lot of people like me and like the UK would relate to a story like that.
100%. By the way, it doesn't sound dumb. Like anything that you say that like you want to do is not dumb. Like I want to found a school when I'm older. Like that might sound dumb, like when I'm talking right now, like I'm not in a position, but like it's not dumb. Like it's something that I want to do and something that I aim to make happen. So anything that you aspire to do or you have goals, it's not dumb. Like believe in it and speak it like into existence. So yeah.
Do you believe in that, like manifestation and stuff like that?
I'll be honest with you. So I've grown to hate the word manifestation. So I mean, maybe I should go into this, maybe I shouldn't. But the only reason I hate it is that I feel like 99.9% of the people that say and use the word have no idea what the definition of it is.
Yeah.
And it seems like a word which has become a trend as opposed to a word that's used for its actual purpose. So like, I don't know, like you might have someone, they get a new car and they're like, I manifested this, man. And you're like, no, you didn't.
You
like
just worked for it and paid for it.
Go on Wikipedia, look up the definition. Like, do you know what I mean? But I do, like, to answer your question, I do But yeah, I've grown to like really not like the concept because it's become a trend.
I feel you. A lot of people is like, I think as well, people think manifestation is like a magical thing that you can just think things into existence, but you actually have to put the steps and the actions into place to like achieve that. It's not just like, I'm gonna lay in my bed all day and think I'm gonna become as big as Stormzy and Dave and it's gonna happen. No, I have to go out, I have to drop music, I have to put myself out there. But,
you're right. Like, don't get me wrong, you have to have the thoughts, you have to have faith in those thoughts, but you have to act. If there's no action, like nothing's ever gonna happen.
Literally. And I think that's what a lot of people think like manifestation is.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking of this A-class 6 months ago and it's here. Like, I manifested. Like, no, you didn't. Like,
literally.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting topic. I'm probably a bit opinionated on it, but there you go. That's my thoughts.
Do you manifest?
Do I plan? So like, I think about goals.
Then you put them into
really
action.
Specific goals. I'll write them down. I'll put a plan in place and I'll act upon that plan. And at the end of the day, if you say, I want to be as big as Dave. Okay, so how many album sales did Dave do on...
like 150K on We're All Alone in This Together. I think it was like...
So let's say that for sake of example, and you say, right, okay, so I want to be as big as Dave. I need to do those album sales in 5 years. Okay, so this year I need to do 10,000 album sales. Then the next year I'm going to do 30,000. Then the year after that I'm going to do 50,000. The year after that I'm going to do 100,000. Then the year after that I'm going to do 150,000. Okay, so how do I hit these numbers? And if you act upon that every single day, I'm not saying you're going to do it, but you'll stand a much better chance of getting to that end goal.
100%.
If you just say, I want to be as big as Dave, I want to do these album sales, and just continue to do what you're doing on a daily basis, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, I totally agree with that. But that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment, like putting actions into play, like with this tape and stuff. I'm hoping to...
I was going to ask, what is your... So now we're very much kind of at the end of the future. What is your exposure plan to get you to the Dave status?
The Dave status? Well... For me, it's more about building, like how they was talking in that chat, building a cult following. Because I feel like once you have a cult following, you can do anything. A perfect example, who I'd kind of like to mirror in the US, is Tyler, the Creator. Tyler, the Creator was the artist no one really expected to be as big as he is. When you look at all the things he's doing, he's got his own festival, clothing line, perfume, all this different stuff that he does. But when he came out, in the time he came out, there were so many other rappers that were like bigger than him and like way more popular. But over time, in the last 10 years, he's just completely kept elevating and elevating. I think it's because of that. He built that cult following. Yeah. And that just grows because word of mouth, they keep pushing you out. Things like this, like more interviews, more podcasts so people can get to know me better. I feel like, you know, people will be able to relate to me, hopefully. And like, I hope things like this, and then the music, the clothing stuff. I'm going to show you all of that after. But like things like that is what I think will help to build my like following, and in turn building the following. Because I was in a session with someone called Kamir. This was time ago. He's in Oxford, Black Studio. Shout him out. But he was telling me, you know, fans are kind of fickle. It's easy to kind of have fans, especially in nowadays. You could have a viral TikTok song, you could have this, you could have that, and you have a lot of fans. But people can just be fans of the moment. You know, people can be fans of this is popular right now, and that's why I like it. But a supporter is someone who's gonna grow with you. They might be 16 now, and when I'm 25, they're 21, and what I'm doing now, they're still relating to me. And when I'm 30, they're 25, and that's someone who grows with you. But sometimes fans can be kind of fickle, do you know what I mean? So I don't even like the word fan, because I feel like the word fan makes it seem like, oh, I'm a fan of you. I feel like I don't believe in being fans of people. Like, I just think there's supporters and there's listeners, kind of like there's people, you know what I mean?
That's an interesting concept. I agree. So you aim to grow that supporter portfolio.
Does.
Yeah, facts. Okay, sick. So before we go into the final kind of 2 questions in the future, I was interested, and this has kind of just popped into my head, but it is a question that I asked some people. But given the struggles within your childhood, specifically within the relationship with your parents. Firstly, I mean, my second question might be irrelevant. Do you want to have kids when you grow up?
Yeah.
There was hesitation there. Why?
I don't know. Like, yeah, I do, but
what do you feel your experience has put you off?
Yeah, kind of. Just because, like, if I had kids, I'd have to know I'm so pattern. Like, I'd want to be married, and like I want it to be a really good situation. But then that's like super unrealistic. So
why is that unrealistic? I see. I don't think that's unrealistic.
not?
I think you think it's unrealistic because of what's happened to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, it's probably not even unrealistic. But yeah, I'd want to be married and just have like that happy family dynamic where everything's cool, everything's good. Because I wouldn't want to
put your child through what you went through.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I wouldn't want to, like, I'd want them to have just that dynamic in their life, and just so I know that I've given them everything, like, possibly I can think of. I've given them the best, like, circumstances. I wouldn't want them to, like, experience me and their mum arguing, for example. I wouldn't want them to experience, like, the toxic relationship between their parents, because I don't think that's, like, good. So would you want to have kids?
Yeah, not anytime soon. Like, no.
Oh, okay.
So I don't plan on having kids for about 10 years.
Yeah, same. Maybe even 15. Literally.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, I do, but not anytime soon. Like, I have too many things that I want and need to do before then to get you, like you say, to that position where it's completely a cemented foundation for them to come into and live their best lives. So yeah, okay, you kind of answered the second part of my question was going to be like, what would you do differently to what you're exposed to? But you've absolutely kind of gone into that and ticked that box. So I appreciate it. So I mean, before, like I said, I go into the last 2 points that we ask everyone. Is there anything, like, throughout your past, present, future journey that we haven't gone into that you would like to express?
I mean, there's some other stuff we could kind of talk about. Like, for example, I didn't mention this at the start, but my dad's Muslim, so and my mum is not Muslim, so I think that also played a part in their relationship.
Clash.
Yeah, culture clash. Even though they're both Caribbean, but like, it is a big culture clash, because I've never seen my dad drink, I've never seen him smoke, I've never seen him do anything throughout my whole life. So he's very, like, devout.
And does he know that you smoked weed for 4 years?
Yeah, like, in 2 years in, he started clocking, and that was a big problem in the house as well. But, like,
how big of a problem?
He just didn't like it at all. Do you know what I'm saying? He just, you know what I'm saying? Typical, like, religious parent. Like, they're not at all. He's not with that at all. So, but that's another thing with your kids. I feel like you have to kind of let your kids experiment a bit, and you have to give them a bit of freedom, bit of leadway. Otherwise, I feel like when you're a kid and you get told not to do something, you just want to do it. You want to do it even more. So it's like, yeah, definitely. He didn't like it, but I've stopped now. So yeah,
all good now. Sure. But that's interesting as well. It kind of fills into that. That perfect foundation for a kid to be birthed into is, like, I guess, either alignment in beliefs or complete respect that you both believe different things and you're okay with that. Choice. Like, so I think either or. But yeah, no, thank you for going into it. I've really genuinely, like, enjoyed the journey, the conversation. As with all the episodes, but I think especially it has been all encompassing, it has been inspiring, it has been honest, it has been transparent, and I think for someone your age to speak about some of the topics that we have is incredibly admirable. Not that I'm like some old man, but I've got a couple of years on you, so yeah, appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
And I just want to say as well, I appreciate both of you for having me on here, because this is my first conversation or anything like this. So I do want to say, big up you and thank you for having me on it, because a lot of time when you're an upcoming artist, it's hard to find people who want to have conversations with you like this. So I think what you're doing with this whole platform is just dope. You know, I just like it a lot, man. And just, big up you, man, literally.
Thank you, bro. How have you found it?
What, this whole conversation? Yeah, it's been good. At first, like I was telling you, I was nervous because a lot of things, you know, I'm not great at articulating. I feel like I'll get better as I get older, and like I stutter over my words sometimes, stuff like that. But I've enjoyed this a lot, and it's made me just feel just better. It's put, like, even the conversation we were having at the start about my childhood and stuff, like, it's good to speak about those things, and I think it would be good to like have it out there as well, just for people to like learn a bit more about me and stuff like.
Definitely, 100%. Okay, so to close, what is like one topic or one area of the industry, the UK music rap industry, that you would like explored more, or more like to be shed on?
More like to be shed on, definitely. It's probably something people say a lot, but definitely like the label side of things. I think there needs to be more transparency between labels and artists, and I think it's getting to that point, especially nowadays. But I still think there needs to be a bit more transparency there, and a bit more like education for artists on that side of things. So yeah, I'd probably say that, like, definitely like contracts and stuff, like, because I feel like, especially coming into the game, if you don't have a lot of people come in and they have this person in their family who works here, or this person who works here, but if you're coming in fresh, late, again, big shout out to my manager Gav, because he's taught me a lot. But when you're coming in fresh, late, you don't know really anything about any of that stuff. So I think definitely more education for artists and producers on like contracts and the label side of things. Fully.
Good answer. Thank you. And the last one, so we ask all individuals, artists, managers, DJs, whoever might be on the podcast, to nominate someone out of their catalogue of contacts, connections. So yeah, who do you nominate to come on and to speak to us?
Like I was saying, there's a few, because I'm in this server as well, and they know I'm on here today. I'm gonna add you into this as well, so you'll like it, bro, because the guy in there. But Ims, I'm pretty sure his director name is BCAS.
Sick.
But he's a director, music video director. He's dope. He's done a lot of like big people, but he'll be a dope person to speak to. Also maybe L2, who's another person on this server, and he's Slow Tie's manager.
Okay.
So he was the guy who started the Twitter Spaces and the Speaking.
Sick.
But he's probably got a lot of gems to drop. I think we'll have a lot of like good things to say on the like business side of music, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Sick. Nice one, bro. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll call it there, but I appreciate it genuinely.
Thank you, man. Literally.